In a world where carbs are your enemy, you need one man to help you fight your battles. That man is Jimmy.
Combating nutrition disinformation and general bull. It's Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com.
Hi, I'm Michelle.
And I'm Kara.
And we are Keto United.
We're known as the ladies that keep it real.
And speaking of keeping it real, we know that there are struggles within the keto lifestyle.
Absolutely. You get stalled. If you go and search the internet, there's so much information out there.
Right, and that's where we can come into play. If you have questions or you need personal support and accountability, that's what we are trained for.
Absolutely. We have been trained and certified by some of the world's leading keto experts.
But we've also been exactly where you are. So if you want to learn more about us, check out our website at ketounited.net or go to our mentor Jimmy Moore's podcast, episode number 1425 of the Livin' Livy the Low Carb Show.
She's got it. Thanks.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another Instagram Live, and we're here with another episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website, and how does the show begin? It begins over on Instagram. That's where I am today. I'm also over here on Facebook Live, so if you're brand new to the show, you want to engage in the content live, you really need to pop on over to one of my social media platforms. You can see what we're doing in real time as we do it. Of course, it's obviously on replay on all these formats as well. So whether you're watching on Instagram or you're watching on Facebook, you can watch all of these episodes in real time. I try to go on a couple of times a day, once in the morning, once in the afternoon, every single day. So go check it out, you guys. If you do miss the live, you can watch it on replay. Definitely follow me. I'm at Livin' Low Carb Man on all of the formats that I do this, which is Instagram, Facebook, and on YouTube. So go follow me there, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Pick the one that suits you the best, and then follow me there. Now, we do put all the past episodes up on YouTube, so go and check out Jimmy Rants as a keyword search on YouTube. You will find the show. Finally, the best of the best moments of this here show are in podcast form. It's the Jimmy Rants podcast, and it's on Apple Podcasts as well as Stitcher. All of these links, you guys, are at JimmyRants.com. Today's Jimmy Rants is another one of those stories that's going to get your goat. Because lately we've seen quite a bit of news that has come out talking about how they're messing with the food supply. So I did a whole Jimmy Rants episode all about the fake meat and how the future of meat is supposed to be all of these vegan meat products. Well, guys, today I have something that I think is even worse than that, and it's going to directly impact those of you that eat keto and you enjoy having salmon. So listen to this, you guys. Here comes the Frankenfish, is what the headline says. Critics warn that genetically engineered salmon import approval puts consumers and fisheries at serious risk. So what I'm going to talk about here today is the FDA's approval of this, what they call GE salmon. It's genetically modified organism salmon, GMO, is now blurring the lines of what real food is. Because we all believe in real food. That's why we have cut out all of what I call the crappy garbage in our diet. And we now are trying to make better choices for our health, choosing fattier cuts of proteins like salmon, having green leafy vegetables if you're not carnivore, and then having enough fat to satiety. But this news headline, you guys, is shocking. All right, so let's read the story. Consumer advocates charge the move, quote, runs counter to sound science and market demand. So a ban was lifted on importing genetically engineered or GE salmon. Critics have long called this Frankenfish in a move that consumer advocates say runs counter to sound science and market demand. With this move, the FDA has put American consumers at risk by putting unlabeled, unnatural fish on the market. That's according to a group called Friends of the Earth. The FDA, Food and Drug Administration here in America, announced this decision on Friday, more than 3 years after they approved that GE salmon would be the first biotech animal authorized for commercial sale and consumption in the United States. All right, let me stop for just a second. So who in their right mind would approve of a genetically modified fish? Is God stupid? Not a trick question. Is God stupid? Does God know how to make real food happen without having humans genetically modify things? And what's the point of genetically modifying something like a salmon? What are they trying to prove? How does it change it? What's the point is what I'm saying. And so genetically modified salmon. Guys, this is real, and this impacts those of us that eat keto, because a lot of us do eat salmon. My wife, Christine, she'll eat salmon till the cows come home, and then I'll eat the cows. But she loves her salmon. I mean, if that's all she had, she would eat it. I'm not as big a salmon fan as she is, but she absolutely loves it. So this is disappointing because they don't have to label it that it's genetically modified. They don't have to put anywhere on the packaging that it's different than any other salmon you've ever bought. If you're just joining us, yes, the FDA has now approved the sale of what's called GE salmon. It's genetically engineered. You might have heard of GMO, genetically modified organism. And I'm making the case here today, you guys, that this is blurring the lines of what real whole foods are. Because we all believe in real whole foods, and anybody that would go to a store and purchase salmon, you would think that that's real whole food. But if it's been messed with through genetic modification, I'm sorry, that no longer qualifies it to be real whole food. The approval, as well as the agency's repeal of the import alert, are major wins for the biotech industry. See, these are the food scientists, you guys, that are trying to mess with our food supply, and have come despite concerns repeatedly raised by environmental and public health advocates about the threat to wild salmon populations and consumers. This is the other thing. Part of the reason why we fish for salmon and other fish and other even wildlife, why hunting happens, all of this. Part of the reason is you control the population. And so if they now are making these genetically engineered salmon, the normal population of salmon are now allowed to proliferate, and that overpopulation actually causes problems. So this is a big deal. And then all of those fishermen who rely on selling their fish to consumers, usually through companies, they sell it to companies and the companies sell it to you, they're now losing business because of this. The alert was put in place after a spending bill provision that came out last year blocked the fish from entering commerce in the U.S. until the FDA had finalized the labeling guidelines that would inform consumers the product is genetically modified. All right, so they are trying to put some labels on it, but I do wonder, how clear will it be? The FDA on Friday said it no longer needs to finalize labeling guidelines because the law requiring the disclosure of genetically engineered ingredients nationwide applies to salmon, essentially taking the product outside of the FDA. So these guidelines for the GE or GMO labeling law, they were released last year by the, as if the FDA wasn't bad enough, the new guidelines are by the USDA, U.S. Department of Agriculture. They've been described as critics as a, quote, disaster. There was a report in December that said to make the disclosure, food producers have 4 options. They can put text on the packaging. They can make a friendly looking symbol. They can use an electronic or digital link, or they can have a text message. The USDA's new guidelines don't require adequate mandatory labeling. That's a problem, you guys. If people don't know that they're getting a genetically modified version of salmon, wouldn't you want to know that as a consumer? Don't you think you have the right to know that? Whether you're getting a real whole food that's been fished and pulled out of the water and all that jazz, or are you okay with eating a genetically modified version of salmon? They don't require calling the fish genetically engineered, and they don't help consumers know what kind of fish they're actually buying. This is from a gentleman named George Kimbrell. He's the legal director at the Center for Food Safety. These guidelines don't require any mandatory labeling of GE salmon and instead allow producers to have a QR code. So that's that little square code that's got all the little, you know what I'm talking about, QR code. They don't have a 1-800 number where you can call and find out, is this a genetically modified salmon? Nothing. So that's what the amendment to that spending bill was supposed to be about, but they're not doing it. The FDA's decision made without consulting any of the indigenous groups who rely on salmon for food and income, and this has roiled tribal leaders. So where the fishing is taking place, remember, these are imports to the United States, so they're happening in countries that are probably using very low-paid workers to get this salmon. And now those poor, literally poor, low-paid workers are going to have a harder time because, oh, we don't need you anymore. We've genetically modified them. It's unconscionable and arrogant to think that man can improve upon our Creator's perfection in wild salmon as a justification and excuse to satisfy corporate ambition and greed, according to the president of the Quinault Indian Nation. That's one of the places where they do the fishing for real whole food. She said this unilateral move is an alarming signal that our sacred and prized wild salmon is now even more vulnerable to external markets and ecological threats. So that's what I was talking about earlier regarding the overpopulation, you guys. If they don't fish for these salmon and pull them out of the water, then the fish become overpopulated, and that causes a whole nother layer of problems. And so this is why I'm talking about it here today, because so many of us that eat keto, we do eat salmon and we have it as part of our diet. Would you want to know whether you're eating GE salmon or wild-caught salmon? I think you would. It's blurring that line, you guys. I know it's going to look like real food. It's going to taste like real food. But is it? Is it really? Another one of the people that help to fish, they said, clearly this is an appropriation of our culture because they're fishermen. And so you take away what basically gives them a livelihood, and you basically have taken away who and what they are. So they're really upset about this. This action will lead to the inevitable contamination and irreversible damage to the food system. By lifting the ban on genetically engineered salmon, the FDA has put American consumers at serious risk and has directly attacked all the lifeways of the Pacific Northwest tribal communities. Guys, this will have ramifications and ripple effects that could last for years to come. And again, have they done randomized controlled clinical trials seeing how this genetically engineered salmon responds in the body? No. Have they done thorough testing to make sure that it's safe for humans to consume? No. Did they even think about and take into consideration all of these fishing villages, that this is their sustenance, this is how they make a living? And did they think about the impact that this decision to allow GE salmon to be sold in America? No. So in light of that, I think we need to raise a stink about it, which is why I'm Jimmy Ranson about it here today. A senior food policy campaigner with Friends of the Earth pointed out the agency's decision, talking about the FDA, doesn't align with public demand. More than 80 retailers have already said they don't want to sell this risky, unlabeled GMO fish, and polls of consumers simply don't want it. And so I ask you the question, do you want genetically engineered salmon? Do you want genetically modified anything in your diet? And I think those of us that start to embrace real whole foods, those of us that want to do things right for the sake of our health, and for the sake of what's natural. No, we don't want anything like this. And yet, you guys, this is becoming more the norm than you'd ever believe. And I think if we don't stand up to this kind of thing happening, then what's to stop them from going after other parts of the food supply? Well, we know it's not sustainable to keep making meat, so therefore we need to come up with engineering ways to make meat in a lab. Oh wait, they're already doing that. I just did a whole Jimmy Rants on that just last week. And if we don't stand up for real whole foods, who's gonna? And once real whole foods goes by the wayside and all we're eating is genetically modified organisms, you're gonna need every medication in the world to keep you alive. This is scary, you guys. And it's one reason I wanted to bring this story to you guys here today, is maybe you won't hear much about this because it's kind of on the down low, but I think you deserve, as a consumer, you deserve to know when you go to the grocery store or the fish market or wherever you go, you deserve to know, where did that come from? And if you don't know, I mean, I hope the answer isn't we avoid eating salmon, because salmon has so many good health properties for you. But that might be the unintended consequence here, is people that enjoy real whole foods and don't want to have GMOs in their mouth. Unless you know the fishermen that actually pulled the fish out of the water, the answer may be that you avoid salmon. I hope not. I hope that's not the unintended consequence that happens as a result of this. So the bottom line in this Jimmy Rant, you guys, is the FDA has approved of this GMO GE salmon, and I say it's blurring the lines of real whole foods. And we, as real whole food advocates and lovers and people that embrace this way of eating, which matches up with a paleo lifestyle, matches up with primal, keto, low carb, Whole30, all of the major diets that people are doing other than vegan, because they don't eat salmon, although some vegans actually are starting to add back in fish, and salmon would be an option. They need to know about this. And the more you know, the more you can change, the more you can raise a stink about things, and hopefully we can have, hopefully Pandora's box has not been opened, and we can actually have a discussion about this. But it does look like they unilaterally made this change on their own. All right, I want to see what you guys have to say. I've got two set of comments here, so I'm going to try to vacillate back and forth between the two. So I've got Instagram Live here, Facebook Live there. So let's go over here to Instagram first, since that's where I typically start. Welcome in, you guys. I saw a vegan salmon. That's crazy. Gerald, you saw a vegan salmon? Is it made out of tofu? My husband won't buy anything that's farmed, says Pamino. This is disappointing, says Julie. Oops, sorry, guys. I turned the video around by accident. So disappointing. Salmon's one of my favorites. Well, yeah, a lot of people love salmon. This reminds me of a meme about a label for FDA-approved food and drugs. Warning, this food has been approved by the FDA. I do love it. You're warned. This has been approved by the FDA. We have to look for wild caught now. Well, yellow-eyed, absolutely. But again, they probably will play games with the consumers on that too. So don't think that just because it has wild caught on it, that necessarily will prevent it from being GMO or GE salmon. Hopefully companies that know the value of real salmon will package and label it as such. Beth, I hope so. I think That would be a great idea, obviously. Even if they do label wild caught, they can always skew the language. Yes, we see that all the time with stuff. They'll put all natural, which means nothing. They'll put organic, which, I've seen organic gummy bears. So we've gotten to the point where these words that they use to describe don't really tell you a whole lot. The one that gets my goat the most is no sugar added. And then you look at the back and it's got a ton of sugar in it. Oh, but they didn't add any more to it than what was, quote, natural to it. All right, one more here on Instagram before I pop over to Facebook. Natural salmon means farmed, color added in food, GMO, grain-fed, no parents, no eyes, no brain, born yesterday, etc. People's reaction, oh, look, $1 a pound, I'll take it. Alberto, that's sadly more true than not. All right, let's see what my Facebookers over here have to say. Welcome in, you guys. Going to be trying to do more of these Jimmy Rants, including you guys here on Facebook. So thanks for engaging in the Jimmy Rant Show. As always, jimmyrants.com is the website. Lisa says GMO anything is so dangerous. I agree. And it's just wrong to put it in the food supply. I'm so sick of our FDA, and the American Medical Association says, Bonnie, sad people, trust them as our safeguards. Oh, I haven't trusted either one of those groups, along with the USDA or the ADA. None of these groups that supposedly speak on health and what's healthy nutrition. I don't trust any of them as far as I could spit. Lisa, the thing that people say to me is they need to do GMO to be able to have a food supply for everyone, and that's just BS. Yeah, I don't buy that argument. I think if you do things the right way, you could get all of the food that we need. Mindy says this is problematic for everyone, but especially those of us who only eat kosher fish. I had heard that they're crossbreeding eel, which is non-kosher, with salmon to help speed up their growth. Restaurants especially will take advantage of this because the price is less expensive, as well as being more abundant. We're living in a godless society where the bottom line tends to trump any moral compass. Mindy, well said, and I sadly agree. All right, guess this means more fishing in Alaska, says Mark. Well, I hope, that's a good point. I hope this means that those that are doing things the right way get a bright light shown on them, and that this would become a marketing thing for them. We guarantee we are not GE salmon. Come buy our salmon, wild caught, fresh from the Alaska. I love that point. This could become an unintended good thing if these companies that are doing it the right way use this as a marketing tool. Genetically modified to contain high fructose corn syrup, says Alex. I don't know why they would want high fructose corn syrup in salmon, but okay. They thought only about the money, says Christy. That's true. How would you be able to tell when it's on the shelf without a label? See, Alex, that's the problem. You wouldn't be able to tell. And unless they come up with some mandate that requires them to put some symbol, some text, something that would alert you, the consumer. The problem is a lot of people, all they do is look at the food itself. They're not really looking at any labels, any symbols, any words about it. They're just looking at the food itself. Oh, there's some salmon. They pick it up and then they put it in their cart. They're not really paying attention to what maybe a little fish symbol would be. I wonder if they put skull and crossbones on there, if that would get the message across. They wouldn't do that, obviously. Brian says they think we're going to run out of food while feeding us high carb foods that make us hungry. Do the math, people. Yeah. Dana says, is that big picture to keep us sick and on meds? They all work together, FDA, USDA, and Big Pharma. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it's certainly hard not to connect all the dots with those organizations. That's for sure. Nikki says Primal Health has been pushing about the GMO and the push to keep us from being able to feed ourselves. We all need to learn how to grow and find good quality meats. Yes, Nikki, we have 26 backyard chickens, so we get eggs from them every day. Eventually they're going to become winter chicken dinner. We're growing vegetables and such in our greenhouse. It's starting to get warmer, so pretty soon we'll be putting some produce into the ground. We are looking into what kind of meat products we could bring in. We've thought about goats. I would love to have cow, but we live too much in the city part here in South Carolina. So yeah, I agree with you. I think that is going to be closer to the answer for most of us. All right, one more. Our family has become keto recently and it tastes so much better. Oh yeah, it does. All right, back to Instagram Live. And again, if you're just joining us, I am going simulcast on Instagram Live and Facebook Live at the same time today. I'm going to try to do this more and more, you guys. Of course, all the past episodes of Jimmy Rants are on jimmyrants.com. We put all the past videos up on YouTube, so don't miss this. We have that approved in Canada too, says Salimar. Yeah, it's sad. No requirements, they say, in Canada to label it GMO. That's horrible. Manuel says, I only put whole foods down my hole. Well, maybe. You may not know it's salmon moving forward. Tammy says the FDA, USDA is corrupt and broken. I agree. Gerald, pretty much we are going to hunt for food down the road and then might have to go back to that again. Yeah, I've got some woods out here. I may have to go shoot some squirrel or something. It's crazy. Yellow-eyed says pescatarians deserve to know about this. Yeah, it's one reason I wanted to do this Jimmy Rants here today is I wanted to put it on the radar screen of those people that do make fish the primary protein and fat in their diet. You need to know about this. The more you know, the more you grow, says Lorinda. Yeah. How can we be sure it is not GMO? Well, that's the problem. You can't. Because they're not mandating any kind of labeling, they could pretty much put it on the market. And the FDA approved that it could be put out there. You don't know. We need to rise up and raise some hell, says Keto 42054. Yeah, it's one reason I wanted to bring it to your attention today, because I don't know if the mainstream news is going to tell you about this. And this is so critical, you guys, to those of us that believe in real whole foods. This is serious, very serious business. Lisa says, I'm grateful I live in an area where I can go catch my own salmon and trout. Well, that's awesome, Lisa. Send us some. I think it's all tied into big pharma to make us all sick and dependent on meds. Yeah, I don't know if big pharma's involved in this, but again, not a conspiracy theorist, but it's hard not to connect the dots. It does seem like they're working in harmony with one another to pervert our food supply, to take it further and further away from real whole foods. Medusa, I see your general question. We're not doing general questions today. I did a whole Q&A last night, over an hour long. So we'll try to do Q&As every once in a while. You can write me that question, jimmy@llvlc.com, or you can just send me a private message through here. So what we're talking about is the FDA's approval of GE salmon, blurring the lines of real food. Let's see if there's any more questions over here or comments on Facebook. I don't believe the label, as they keep coming up with names the average person can't understand. Yeah, that's the other thing. They come up with some label that kind of would be hard to find. Alex says, we used to buy goat and cow and have the farmer butcher it for us. We would split it with another family to cut the cost. Yeah, I'm sensing a lot more people are doing that kind of thing now, so you can get out of the normal food supply that would have you accidentally buying something like GE salmon. Everything levitated to more profit, says Alberto. Not always a conspiracy. Yeah. hey, I don't bemoan these companies wanting to make money and to maximizing the financial aspect, but I would hope that the leaders in health would step up and go, whoa, 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 but they're not. It takes a layperson like Jimmy Moore to come on here and talk to you about it and let you know about this kind of thing and let you know this ain't right. And we need to stand up for real whole foods. That's it for this episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. As always, you can engage in the content live. And today I did it on 2 formats, Instagram Live and Facebook Live. So thank you all for being here across both of my social media channels here today. You can access all of my social media channels. I'm at Livin' Low Carb Man, literally everywhere, on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. So go follow me, Livin' Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. So on Instagram, I'm at Livin' Low Carb Man. Here on Facebook, facebook.com/Livin' Low Carb Man. And over on YouTube, youtube.com/Livin' Low Carb Man. You can also on YouTube type in a keyword Jimmy Rants. You will find the show either there or on Google. Finally, we do have a podcast which has the best of the best moments of this here show. It's in podcast form over on the Jimmy Rants podcast on Apple Podcast and Stitcher. All of these links, you guys, are at jimmyrants.com. So Instagram Live, thanks so much for being here today, and we'll see you next time.